Vandeyam Shri Guru Shri Yatha Parakamlam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaraganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Rana Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivishikam Vitam Sya Om Ajnana Timaranda Shakyanajana Shalakya Chakshuram militam yena tasma Shri Gurave Namah Gurva Bhistam Supurkam Guruganara Sisha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samastavena Nipanam Shri Rupa Patanugam Govindabhidam Ujwalam Bharatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Bande Vishwaguruncha Divyat Bhagavat Prem Noe Bija Pranam Devam Divyatanum Suchanda Baranam Balarka Chelanchitam Sandrananda Puram Sadeka Baranam Vairagya Vidyambunim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Baram Banditam Shubharam Madeka Sharanam Nyashishvara Shridaram Bansha Kopatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahavananyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratavishe Namah. So we're hearing from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupad. This is Madhya-lila chapter 8, talks between the Lord and Ramananda Raya. This part of the Chaitanya Charitamrita is known as the Ramananda Sambad, and it's a very essential part of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So I'll start with verse number 38, where Ramananda Raya is addressing Mahaprabhu. He says, Amanishtarite tomar ihanagaman parama doyalu tumi patita pavan. You have come here specifically to deliver me. You are so merciful that you alone can deliver all fallen souls. Srila Narottam Das Thakur sings in his Prarthana, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Kora More, Toma Bina Ke Doyalu Jagata Samsare, Patita Pavana Hetu, Taba Avatar, Mosamo Patita Prabhu Na Pai Be'ar. This is from Narottam Das Thakur. My dear Lord, please be merciful to me. Who can be more merciful than your Lordship within the three worlds? You appear as an incarnation just to reclaim the conditioned fallen souls, but I assure you that you will not find a soul more fallen than me. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's specific mission is to deliver fallen souls. Of course, in this age of Kali, there is hardly anyone who is not fallen according to the calculations of Vedic behavior. In his instructions to Rupa Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu described the so-called followers of Vedic religion in this way. Vedanishta madhye ardeka veda mukhe mane vedan nishida papa kore dharma nahigane. So-called followers of Vedic principles simply accept the Vedas formally, but they act against the Vedic principles. This is symptomatic of this age of Kali. People claim to follow a certain type of religion, saying formally, I am Hindu, I am Muslim, I am Christian, I am this or that. But actually no one follows the principles enunciated in religious scriptures. This is the disease of this age. Therefore, the merciful Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has simply advised us to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. The Lord can deliver anyone and everyone, even though one may have fallen from the injunctions of revealed scriptures. This is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's special mercy. Consequently, he is known as Patita Pavan, the deliverer of all fallen souls. So today, with this idea in mind, we're going on Harinam at around 10 o'clock, and we'll go to Pleasure Point along there. If you travel on 41st Avenue to the end of 41st Avenue, there's a parking lot where the beach going towards Pleasure Point begins. And there's other places to park along the streets. So that's where we'll go today at 10 o'clock. Mahanta Swabhava Etarite Pamar Nijakarya Nahitabu Jana Taragar. It is a general practice of all saintly people to deliver the fallen. Therefore they go to people's houses, although they have no personal business there. So this Ramananda Raya glorifying Mahaprabhu. A sannyasi is supposed to beg from door to door. He does not beg simply because he is hungry. His real purpose is to enlighten the occupant of every house by preaching Krishna consciousness. So that's known as sannyas bhikka, where you're begging. And actually we do that as Guru Seva. We do that to serve Gurudev. We sometimes beg and bring back what we collect to the ashram to offer to Gurudev. A sannyasi does not abandon his superior position and become a beggar just for the sake of begging. Similarly, a person in householder life may be very important, but he may also voluntarily take to the mendicant way of life. Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami were ministers, but they voluntarily accepted the mendicant's life in order to humbly preach Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message. It is said about them, Chaktva Turnam Asesha Mandala Pati Shrenim Sada Tuchavat Bhutva Dina Ganesha Ko Karunaya Kopina Kantashrito. Although the Goswamis were very aristocratic on the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they became mendicants just to deliver the fallen souls. One should also consider that those who engage in the missionary activities of the Krishna consciousness movement are under the guidance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They are not actually beggars. Their real business is to deliver fallen souls. Therefore, they may go from door to door just to introduce a book about Krishna consciousness so that people can become enlightened by reading. Formerly, brahmacharis and sannyasis used to beg from door to door. At the present moment, especially in the Western countries, a person may be handed over to the police if he begs from door to door. In Western countries, begging is considered criminal. Members of the Krishna consciousness movement have no business begging. Instead, they work very hard to introduce some literature about Krishna consciousness so that people can read and be benefited. But if one gives some contribution to a Krishna conscious man, he never refuses it. So that's, some people don't understand. They see the devotees begging and they think they're just becoming a nuisance. But actually the business of begging is part of serving one's guru. One takes a humble position, and whether one goes begging or collecting, often, many times, people will insult a person who goes up to them. They'll say, "Get away," or they'll become angry. But that's part of. Sometimes it can be annoying, but generally that's just part of begging. You have to expect to be in a humble position sometimes. Mahad vichalanam nrinam grihinam dinachetasam nishreya saya bhagavan nanyata kalpate kvachit. My dear Lord, sometimes great saintly persons go to the homes of householders, although these householders are generally low-minded. When a saintly person visits their homes, one can understand that it is for no other purpose than to benefit the householders. One time I was speaking to some devotees. I was going in another country, and they were telling me that there were some Mormon missionaries that were going, or maybe it was Jehovah's Witnesses. Both of them sometimes go, and they do missionary activities. And someone went to their house, and they began arguing with the person, saying, "Thou shalt not eat meat, thou shalt not kill." So I said, all right, but they're coming to your house as part of their beliefs. They're coming there to in some kind of missionary activity. So be nice to them. It's not necessary. We ourselves are doing that. So we want people to understand something that we're doing. We should also be that way to others. Anyway, Amara Sange Brahmanadi Sahasreka Jan Tomara Darshane Sabar Dravibhutaman. Along with me there are about 1,000 men, including the Brahmins, and all of them appear to have had their hearts melted simply by seeing you. So, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that Ramananda Roy is like a very high person in the government, and there are many Brahmins, formal Vedic Brahmins, going with Ramananda Roy, because there's Ragmarg and there's Vidyanagar, and Vidyanagar is following all the rules and regulations. And we follow rules and regulations also to a certain extent, but we do that as sadhana bhakti, that we are advised how to be in the temple. We don't turn our backs to the deity. We offer dandavats when we come in, like that. There's a certain amount of rules and regulations that we follow, but we're not following Vidyanagar. We're not just interested in following formal religion, like Srila Govinda Maharaj. He said that the Westerners, they can't follow Vidyanagar because they can't even pronounce the Vedic mantras. So they can't follow all those injunctions and chant different mantras and all that. So what we follow is sadhana bhakti. That, just like if you understand what is bhakti, there's different activities like worshiping Tulsi, chanting the holy name, bowing down before the deities, like this, that we do, but we're not doing them in just a mechanical way according to. So, but in the case of Ramananda Roy, there are about so many people following him, and they are all formal Brahmins, Vedic Brahmins, and also they're persons who are following Vidyanagar. So he says, along with me there are about 1,000 men, including the Brahmins, and all of them appear to have had their hearts melted simply by seeing you. He's glorifying Mahaprabhu, who's traveled walking to South India. He's doing his tour of South India. So it says, Krishna Krishna Nama Shuni Sabara Badane Sabara Anga Pulakita Ashunayane. I hear everyone chanting the holy name of Krishna. Everyone's body is thrilled with ecstasy, and there are tears in everyone's eyes. Akritye Prakritye Tomar Ishwara Lakan Jives Na Sambhavi E Aprakrita Gun My dear Lord, according to your behavior and bodily features, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ishvara Lakan. You have all the qualities of the Lord. It is impossible for ordinary living beings to possess such transcendental qualities or to possess such divine qualities. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's bodily features were in common. Indeed, his body was extraordinary in its measurements. The measurement of his chest and the measurement of his forearms were the same. This is called Nyagroda Parimandala. As far as his nature is concerned, he was kind to everyone. No one but the Supreme Lord can be kind to everyone. Therefore, the Lord's name is Krishna, all attractive. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is the kind father of everyone. In every species of life, Sarva Jonishu, he is the original father, the seed giver, Bija Pradapita. How then can he be unkind to any living entity? One may be a man, an animal, or even a tree, but the Lord is kind to everyone. That is God's qualification. He also says in the Bhagavad Gita, Samoham Sarvabhuteshu. I am equally kind to everyone. And he advises, Sarvadharmam Parityaja Mamikam Sharanam Braja. Give up all other engagements and simply surrender to me. This instruction is meant not only for Arjuna, but for all living entities. Whoever takes advantage of this offer is immediately immune to all sinful activity and returns home back to God. While persons on this planet, while present on this planet, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made the same offer. So Prahlad Maharaj, his father was a demon. His father was Hiranyakashipu, and he wanted to train up his son in how to be a ruler. So he instructed Prahlad Maharaj in diplomacy, but Prahlad Maharaj said he didn't accept these instructions because they were dealing with people as friends and enemy. And Prahlad, it's natural, somebody in political life, they'll see people as friends or as enemies. But Prahlad Maharaj, he said, he refused to think of things in that way, because he said everyone is related because Krishna is the father of everyone. So how can, if everyone is you could say in that sense, everyone is related, everyone is my brother, why should I think of these people as my friend and these people as my enemy? But that goes on all the time. We see now people are thought of as friends, and there's wars going on, so they think, oh, these people are friends and these people are enemy. But Prahlad Maharaj said he refused to think in those terms. So the Lord replied, let's see. Prabhu kohe tumi maha bhagavatama. Prabhu kohe tumi maha bhagavatotama. Tomara darshane sabar draba hoilamana. The Lord replied to Ramananda Roy, Sir, you are the best of the topmost devotees. Therefore, simply the sight of you has melted everyone's heart. So this is Mahaprabhu's way of replying. When people address him as the Supreme Lord, then he doesn't present himself that way. He presents himself as a devotee, not as the Supreme Lord. He is the Lord, but he has taken the heart and halo of Srimati Radharani, and he's presenting himself as a servant of Krishna, so as a devotee. And if we see, if you read Srila Sridhar Maharaj's Prapanajimanamrita. That is very important, and it will show you how Mahaprabhu thinks of himself. Because he says, in the Sikshastika, he's presenting himself as a devotee, not as the Lord. He says, I said that many times. Ayinanda tanujam kita patita mam. Ayinanda tanuja kinkaram patita mam vishame bhavambudo. He says, "O my Lord, O son of Nanda Maharaj, I have fallen in this ocean of birth and death." So the Lord, we're thinking of the Lord as the savior of everyone. We're not thinking of, Mahaprabhu says, I've fallen into this ocean of birth and death, and unless you take me out of this ocean and keep me as an atom or a particle of dust on your lotus feet, that is my only salvation. He says, Ayinanda tanujam kita. Ainanda tanuja kinkaram patitamam vishame bhavambudo tavaparak kripa pankaja stita duli sadrisham vichintaya. Says, I've fallen into this ocean of birth and death. You please lift me out of this. So that's the prayer of a devotee. That's unless one is a first-class devotee, he cannot be a preacher. A preacher is generally a topmost devotee, but in order to meet the general populace, he has to come to distinguish between devotees and non-devotees. Otherwise, an advanced devotee makes no such distinction. Indeed, he always sees that everyone is engaged in the service of the Lord. When one engages in preaching work, he must distinguish between people and understand that some people are not engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. The preacher then has to take compassion upon such innocent people who do not know how to worship the Lord. In Srimad Bhagavatam, the symptoms of a topmost devotee are described as follows. Sarva bhuteshu yapasyed bhagavad bhavam atmanaha bhutani bhagavati atmani eshad bhagavatotamaha. The advanced devotee says that all living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everyone is in Krishna, and Krishna is also within everyone. Such a vision is possible only for a person who is very advanced in devotional service. So here, Srila Prabhupada is talking about those persons who are preaching Krishna consciousness. And there are different kinds of devotees. One is called a Kanishta Adhikari, one is called a Madhyama Adhikari, one is called a Uttama Adhikari. Now the Uttama Adhikari, he sees that everyone is within the service of everyone is being engaged by the Lord. So he has the topmost vision. But the preacher, sometimes such a person who is a guru, he comes down to the position of the Madhyamadikari. And the Madhyamadikari sees that he makes friends with the devotees, he worships the Lord, he preaches to the innocent, and he avoids association of persons who are by nature atheistic or demoniac. So he's preaching to the innocent. So we don't think of people as being, they're demons because they're against Krishna consciousness. We see people as being innocent, and one tries to approach them and engage them in Krishna consciousness. So, anyway. Anyara ki kata ami mayavadi sannyasi amiya tomara sparshe Krishna premi basi. So when Ramananda Roy said to Mahaprabhu, you are the Supreme Lord, nobody can have such compassion for people, then Mahaprabhu says, you are a Mahabhagavata devotee. That's why you see in that way. You see these things because you're a very advanced devotee. But then he says, as far as myself, Anjera ki kata ami mayavadi sannyasi amiya tomara sparshe Krishna preme bhashi. He says, I am a Mayavadi sannyasi, a non-devotee. But I'm also floating in the ocean of love of Krishna simply by touching you and what to speak of others. So Ramananda Roy sees Mahaprabhu as the Lord, and he says, you are the Supreme Lord himself, and you have come to deliver me. And Mahaprabhu then says, you see it like that because you are such an advanced soul. But myself, I'm just a Mayavadi sannyasi. He's not. But he says, I'm just a Mayavadi sannyasi. But I have also become affected by touching you. So, Ejani katina mora hridaya shodite sarvabhauma kohilena tomare milite. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya knew this would happen, and thus to rectify my heart, which is very hard, he asked me to meet you. Actually, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a Mayavadi. He was an impersonalist, a follower of Shankaracharya. But Mahaprabhu converted him, and he became a great devotee. But when his heart became melted by Mahaprabhu, then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said to Mahaprabhu, when he was leaving for South India, he was going to South India to preach, then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, before I could not recognize Ramananda Roy, I thought he was just a sentimental man. But you are going to South India, you please meet with him. Before I couldn't understand how great he is, but now that you have touched my heart, I can appreciate him, that he's very advanced. So, but Mahaprabhu says, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya knew this would happen. He knew that I would become affected just by meeting you. So he's attributing, Mahaprabhu's he's actually glorifying Ramananda Roy. Although Ramananda Roy is praying to Mahaprabhu for his mercy, Mahaprabhu's asking him questions and putting him in this section of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He's putting Ramananda Roy in the position of a guru. He's asking him the questions, and Ramananda Roy is replying. But Ramananda Roy knows who Mahaprabhu says, and he says, he tells him, you're a Brahmin, you're a sannyasi, and I'm a Shudra. Why should you be asking questions of me? And then Mahaprabhu says, Kiba Vipra Kiba Nyashi Shudra Keninoi, Ye Krishna Tattva Veda Seguru Hoy. I may be a sannyasi and I may be a Brahmin, and you may be considered a Shudra, but Ye Krishna Tattva Veda. If somebody knows about Krishna consciousness, they should be accepted as a guru. You can hear from them. So Mahaprabhu says, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya knew this would happen, and thus to rectify my heart, which is very hard, he asked me to meet you. Emata duhe stute kore duhara gun, duhe duhara darshane ananditaman. In this way, each of them praised the qualities of the other, and both of them were pleased to see each other. Henakali Vaidika ek Vaishnava Brahman Dandavat Kore Koila Prabhure Nimantran. At this time, a Brahman Vaishnava, following the Vedic principles, came and offered obeisances. He fell flat before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and invited him for lunch. Nimantrana Manilatare Vaishnava Janiya Ramanande Kohe Prabhu Ishadhashiya. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the invitation, knowing the Brahman to be a devotee, and slightly smiling, he spoke as follows to Ramananda Roy. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the invitation of the Vaishnava Brahman, even though one is a Brahmin strictly following all the rules and regulations a Brahminical culture. If he is not a devotee, a follower of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one should not accept his invitation. At the present moment, people have become so degraded that they do not even follow the Vedic principles, to say nothing of Vaishnava principles. They eat anything and everything, whatever they like, and therefore the members of the Krishna consciousness movement should be very cautious about accepting invitations. Tomara mukhe Krishna kata shunite hoiman punarape Paijena Tomara Darshan. I wish to hear from you about Lord Krishna. Indeed, my mind is inclined to desire this. Therefore, I wish to see you again. Rayako Mahaprabhu says, so we'll meet. Now the time has come. He's met with Ramananda Roy, so he says we will meet again soon. And Mahaprabhu's purpose is not to meet with Ramananda Roy without so many thousands of people around him. He wants to talk to him in private and discuss Krishna consciousness. He says, I wish to hear from you about Lord Krishna. Indeed, my mind is inclined to desire this. Therefore, I wish to see you again. Rayako he ailachadi pamara shodite darshana matre shuda Nahe mora dushta chite, dina pancha shatara hek, koraha marjan, tabe shuda hoy mora e dushtaman. Ramananda Roy replied, My Lord, although you have come to correct me, a fallen soul, my mind is not yet purified simply by seeing you. Please stay for 5 to 7 days and kindly cleanse. Please stay for 5 to 7 days and kindly cleanse my polluted mind. After that much time, my mind will certainly be pure. So there's a good amount of time, 5 to 7 days. This is the amount of the Govinda Mela. So if we are able to be here for 5 to 7 days, then certainly our minds will become purified. Jajapi vicheda dohar sahanana jai tatapi dandavat kori chalila ramarai. Although neither could tolerate separation from the other, Ramananda Roy nonetheless offered his obeisances to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and departed. Prabhu Jai se vipragare bhikka koila duvijanar utkantaya asi sandhya hoila. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then went to the house of the Brahmin who had invited him and took his lunch there. When the evening of that day arrived, both Ramananda Roy and the Lord were eager to meet each other again. Prabhu snana kritya kori achena basya egbritya sangerai milila asya. After finishing his evening bath, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat down and waited for Ramananda Roy to come. Then Ramananda Roy, accompanied by one servant, came to meet him. A Vaishnava who is supposed to be advanced in spiritual understanding, be he a householder or a sannyasi, must bathe 3 times a day, morning, noon, and evening, or at least once. When one is engaged in the service of the deity, he must especially follow the principles of the Padma Purana and take regular baths. He should also, after bathing, decorate his body with the 12 tilaks. So, actually now Ramananda Roy has come in the evening. He's just come with one servant, and he's going to meet Mahaprabhu, and they're just going to discuss the different levels of Krishna consciousness. And this, if one reads this 8th chapter of Madhya-lila, Ramananda Sambad, one will get very good instructions about how to act and behave as a devotee and how to help other persons, etc. So today we have Harinam planned for 10 o'clock at along the ocean. It's only 5 miles from here, so it's easy to get to, and be very nice. Everyone can join with us in Harinam singing, and there should be people at the beach, and they'll be happy to hear the Maha Mantra. So, does anyone, now you're all here, does anyone have any questions? You can ask questions about anything that's on your mind. Sudarshan, come in.
I was going to ask Maharaj, because it is stated that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a follower of Sankaracharya, but yet we have read also that he was in charge of the Jagannath Puri's temple for the administrate managing the temple.
Yes, well, not so much the administration. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, it's true, he was a follower of Shankaracharya. He's the Brahman advisor to the king. The king is Maharaj Pratraparudra, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was his Brahman advisor. He was like the court Brahmin, you can say. He is, and he certainly was a, very good Brahmin, and all right, he's an impersonalist, but he had that responsibility. One time I was with Srila Prabhupada in South India, and then he was, after we were down there, he was going to Bombay to leave for the Western countries. And he told me, along with 2 other persons, he said, you can go to Jagannath Puri, so because now is the time of the Snan Yatra, so you can go there. And of course I was a new person, I didn't know what all that meant, but we went to Jagannath Puri. So being new, we tried to get into the Jagannath Puri temple, but they told us at the gate, they said, actually the first thing they said if you can get a letter from Shankaracharya, we'll let you into the temple. Now there are 4 different Shankaracharyas in like Puri and Dwarka and different places in India. So we went first to Shankaracharya. He was in Puri, and we didn't know he definitely did not want Westerners into the temple naturally. So he told us, and he said, you bring your Shastra, you bring your scriptures, and we will debate. So, okay, that wasn't going to help so much. So then we went back to the gate and of the Jagannath Puri temple, the gate, Simhadwar. And we said, well, Shankaracharya, he's an impersonalist. We don't follow him anyway. So then they said, well, then you get a letter from the Ram Krishna mission. We said, well, we don't follow the Ram Krishna mission either. So they said, all right, then go to the Purushottama Gaudiya Math in Puri and get a letter from them. So went to the Purushottama Gaudiya Math, and they actually gave us a letter saying it. And I don't know. So then we brought the letter to the main gate, and they said, all right, you can go in, but not the main gate. You go in the side gate. So we went to the side gate. There's 3 of us, and okay, we showed the letter, and then they let us in the gate. That's not inside the temple. It's in the Jagannath Puri temple compound. And we're walking, maybe we got 50 feet or something, and then some big Brahmin with a gold chain around his neck, he stood in front of us and blocked our way, and he started shouting in Oriyan. That's the language of Jagannath Puri, Oriyan. He started shouting, and then all of a sudden, all of a sudden there was a big crowd around us, maybe 50 people, and I thought they were ready to beat us. So then when policeman came and told us, you'll have to go outside the temple, and because I saw that maybe we're going to be beaten, we weren't in the temple, we were just in the compound. He said, you'll have to go outside the gate again. So seeing that we're about to get beat, I said, yes, take us outside the gate. So he took us outside the gate, and then we left. And then someone told me, they said, it is said that if one is a devotee, if the devotee cannot go into the temple to see the Lord will come out of the temple to see the devotee. So that refers to Ratha Yatra, and it also refers to Snan Yatra. But I didn't know what Snan Yatra was. But then after we'd been there a day or two, someone said that the Lord will come out of his temple to see the devotees. So then I didn't know what that meant, and I'm in the. We decided we would go back to Kolkata, and I'm in the street in front of the temple, and I offer my Dandavat pranams from outside the temple in the street. I'm offering Dandavats. And when I stood up, I looked up, and there was Jagannath. Because they take the Lord out of the temple. And for Snan Yatra, it means the bathing ceremony. So they take the Lord high up on the compound, and they're bathing him, and there are people around him, but you could still see Jagannath. I could see him from the street. I'm looking up, and I could just see Jagannath. So I was kind of amazed. Then I'm offering Dandavats to Lord Jagannath, but that's what that meant. So, but the first person you asked me, how can Shankaracharya have anything to do with the temple? Because he's an impersonalist, but he's still a leader of the Hindus. He's a Brahmin, so they give him some responsibility. He has some responsibility in relationship with the Jagannath temple. Anyway, then on other occasions we went to Ratha Yatra. Actually, sometimes in the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mutt, pretty much every year, the devotees go to Ratha Yatra, and they participate in Ratha Yatra. And this last year, we were seeing the situation in India that there was a certain amount of chaos. But Acharya Maharaj, before, he's taking devotees to Ratha Yatra and everything, because he's especially shown by Srila Govinda Maharaj to be the Acharya for India and other places also. He's taking people to Ratha Yatra. So after Acharya Maharaj passed away, then we asked Niriya Maharaj to take that responsibility for the devotees, and he went. After that, he went to Ratha Yatra, and he took 650 people with him. So, and the devotees this year, they also went to Ratha Yatra. So Niriya Maharaj, he also sent out an invitation to devotees, like he sent out an invitation for Ratha Yatra, and now he's sent out invitation for Kartik, for the Kartik months. He's going to they take the devotees for a few days to, I guess it's Hardwar, and then to Vrindavan. They're in Vrindavan. So, like that. But I was encouraged that I've been to Ratha Yatra And this year I talked to people who went to Rath Yatra. So one of the things about Rath Yatra, when you're there, it's very, very nice, but it's extremely hot. I mean, that's the month of late June and early July, like that, and it's so hot in Jagannath Puri that you're I mean, you feel this really strong heat, and then a fire, and they're spraying rose water. They're spraying rose water, but also fire trucks come with hoses with water, and they just spray everybody down with the water from the hoses, you know, and that's very relieving because you get soaked, but that'll dry within a few, not very long, but that cools you down. Puri it's very amazing to see Rath Yatra because there are millions of people that participated, and I'm not exaggerating when I say millions of people. If you go to, for instance, the Kumbh Mela, I haven't gone to the Kumbh Mela, but in the Kumbh Mela there can be between 6 and 12 million people at the Kumbh Mela. You can't imagine that. It's like more people than many cities. It's like, you know, it's like going to a festival, and there are as many people there practically as in New York or something like that. It's just millions of people. So, you know, going to Rath Yatra, it's very very special. And it doesn't matter if you're a Westerner. That's where they say the Lord comes out of the temple to be with his devotees. And you go there and people are fighting a little bit, not so much fighting, but pushing to grab the ropes. They're big ropes, just big around, pulling the Lord through the streets. Any other questions? That was Jagannath Swami's question about Jagannath Swami, about Lord Jagannath. Yeah.
Is there worship of Jagannath in temples of the Seva Ashram?
Malaysia. There's
Oh,
two.
okay. Generally in our temples we don't worship Lord Jagannath. Prabhupada established this, and during Prabhupada's youth he was participating in Rath. Well, especially in Prabhupada's youth, he had little Jagannath deities, and he used to pull them around in like a wagon, which he made like a Rath car or something. And the devotees, one time they were at some store like Cost Plus or something, and they one of them brought back a deity. I don't know, maybe a Balaram or something. He brought back. He said, I found this in the store. He just bought it because it was unusual looking, and then Prabhupada bowed down to that deity, and then Prabhupada asked him, and they went and got the 3 deities from that store, and then later devotees made deities. I remember in Guadalajara, I was living in Guadalajara, I was at that time in ISKCON, and one devotee, his name was Madan Manohar, he later took initiation from Srila Sridhar Maharaj, became Sajjan Maharaj, and he made big deities of Lord Jagannath, and so we started doing Rath Yatra in Guadalajara, and the first year we met one devotee, I think it was Dave Ishwar. He made 3 cars. He made 3 cars, and the canopy on the car would go up and down because some of the wires were very low. So the cars were very tall, but then when they came to a low wire, they had like canopy would go down, and we did. And we started in that first year. The wheels fell off the cars. Yeah, because the cars are very heavy and the wheels couldn't support the weight of the cars, deities and devotees on the cars. So the wheels fell off, and then the devotees were carrying the cars on their shoulders. And then next year they used the axles from cars or something, but even that wasn't strong enough. And then they started using the axles from trailers, to hold the wheels. So gradually we learned how to make those cars and everything. I was there, and when Sajjan Maharaj, then Madan Manohar, made those deities, then I went one time to Los Angeles, and I talked to the devotee who started Rath Yatra in ISKCON. His name was Jayananda. I think he was dying at the time, but he encouraged me to have Rath Yatra. So we had Rath Yatra in Guadalajara. That was like 42 or 43 years ago, and they still have it every year. So we did that, and it was very nice. So yes, in some temples they have Jagannath deities, but actually that worship of Lord Jagannath was done more by Maharaj Pratraparudra with the advice of the Brahmins. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to participate in Rath Yatra, but the devotees of Mahaprabhu, it wasn't that they were formally, they were engaged in the worship of Lord Jagannath, but in our temples, the vision of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakuras, which we follow, it's explained in Saraswat Arti. Very nice. You read Saraswat Arti, you'll understand what is the vision of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And we worship Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with Radha and Krishna. In this case, Gauranga Sundar and Gandharvika and Giridhari. That's the names of the deities given by Govinda Maharaj. And of course, that was the original deity brought here and installed by Srila Govinda Maharaj, this deity of Gauranga Sundar, who came here recently from San Jose, but he was the first deity here, and when Govinda Maharaj installed that deity, and actually that deity was given by Ashram Maharaj to one devotee named Satrajit, who lives in Tijuana. I went to his house this last time when I was visiting Tijuana. He and his wife, Bhagamalini, and they originally had the deity. So I always send him pictures of this deity. But we don't specifically worship Jagannath in our temple so much. But like as Ramachandra is saying, they do in Malaysia,
KL,
Kuala Lumpur,
Kuala Lumpur, and then another city called Pedaling Jaya.
Okay.
A Chartmark.
Okay. And some temples they worship Gaur Nitai or Gaur Nityananda. They do in Caracas, in Puri also, in different temples. Actually, Srila Bhakti Sharanga Goswami Maharaj, he also worshipped Gaur Nityananda deities, although in his temple, which is where Mahaprabhu met with Nityananda naturally, but
Maharaj, Gauranga Sundar came here before Shishikuru Gauranga Gandharvika?
Pardon me? Yes. Yeah. Gauranga Sundar was installed here before Gandharvika Giridhariju. He was here, believe it was, I think 1990s, maybe 1996, I think he was installed by Govinda Maharaj. From his installation, you can see the mark on the floor here, that where a ghee wick fell onto the floor during that. So, yeah. Any other questions? And now we're going to have prasadam, and at 10 o'clock we'll go to Pleasure Point. Along the beach there should be people there, and we'll have Harinam. So like I said, that's very close. Before last year we went to the West Cliff, which is farther away and more traffic and everything. But where we're going now is only 5 miles from here, from this place. I mean, it's really close. If you consider how long this road is till it gets to the main road, that's 3 miles. And then another 2 miles, you're at the beach, at the parking lot of the beach. Not necessarily you'll find parking there because it's Saturday, but you'll find parking in other places. So, and there's also a place called Pleasure Point Pizza, which is before you get there. It's very near, and there's parking along the road from there. But anyway, we'll leave here about 10 o'clock, around that time. So, any more questions? We can end here.
After the Harinam, what's going to take place? We will come back here and Prasad?
Who has the schedule?
I do.
Schedule. You have the
Yeah,
schedule?
it says back
So after Harinam, he's saying after Sankirtan, we'll come back here and take prasadam at the temple. That's correct?
Yeah, but first breakfast and then preparing for Harinam. And Harinam will be at did you explain already, Pleasure Point?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you put the map on the web, some map or instructions on the
At
website.
the very end of 41st Avenue, we'll meet there at 10:30. And if you can leave a little early because parking, you may have to drive around. There is a parking lot at the end of 41st Avenue, but it's limited parking, so, just about 10:30.
The question was
Somebody
what
said, what? Do
Pleasure Point.
you want me to get the schedule?
I have it right here. So, yeah, we come back. It's like,
Yeah, it's obvious we come back and take prasadam here.
No. Surprised you're giving me initiation after that.
I am.
So that was the other thing, Maharaj, if anybody is wanting to ask Maharaj for initiation, this morning is the time to do that because we are making a list for initiations for this afternoon.
Well, yeah, they should know that, because I'm not the only person giving initiation. So people, I mean, there are other acharyas, so people should know, who they want to take initiation from. And as far as second initiation, that's going to involve a little bit more. If it's a man, need to do a fire sacrifice, so we have to have a little time to organize that. And if it's a lady who wants to take second initiation, it doesn't have to be a fire sacrifice. So if you want me to explain why, we can do that later. So anyway, that's the schedule for today, right? For this morning. Then there's a schedule for the afternoon.
There will be classes this evening, and they're all posted on the schedule. I don't know what they're. Do you want to look at that?
Yeah.
Classes.
Okay. No more questions? We're finished? Okay.
At 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
Pondal at 3 o'clock. They're shopping with Lavanya.
And also, I think they announced that who's the speakers for today. There's different.
Yeah.
Okay, he's gonna.
Okay, you can all find that out outside after breakfast before we go. Okay? All right, now I'm just going to sing Hari Haraya and then Harihara. Okay. Here. Hariharaya Nama Krishna Jadavaya Nama Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinatha Maranamon Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Gananara Shiva Sadi Gora Bhaktivedanta Jai Rupa Sanatan Vatsaraguna Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasaraguna Jai Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan Jao Ite Vignana Shami Stapuran Jai Gosai Jarmui Karadan Sabar Pada Inu Mora Panchagan Kader Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas Janame More Abhilas Jai Gosai Jabe Bhaje Koilabas Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Manjai Aman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyan Hare Nam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamudam Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhara Ju Ki Jai. Jai Shri Govinda Mela Ki Jai. Shri Govinda Mela Ki Jai. Shri Govinda Mela Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Tilak Nehriya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmal Acharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtatana Sadha Shri Srimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtatana Sadha Shri Srimad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivedanta Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Namachari Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Ragana Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasha Ragana Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Premsigo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Vishvavaranya Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupad Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Kushamashra Maharaj Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Ki Jai. Saparshada Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Saparshada Sriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Shri Koladvip Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai. Soquel Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Seva Ashram Ki Jai. Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Go Gopi Govardhan Sham Kunda Radha Kunda Kalindi Yamuna Jo Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. All the assembled devotees Ki Jai. Srila Govinda Maharaj Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari.